Jeff's character and his commitment to public service, regardless of whatever the party it is might be different than mine. Using his business experience and has really been very helping people in need. And now during the pandemic, he created a very innovative program called the 30-Day PA Day Fund, which helped thousands of small businesses across Pennsylvania to stay open during the middle of the COVID pandemic. I am absolutely confident that Jeff will bring the kinds of dedication and integrity to the United States, putting the interests of our nations at the forefront for every decision that he makes. I'm proud to support his nomination, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce my friend and speak to this committee.
Thank you, Senator Fetterman. And with all of our senators, I know that we've got a lot of things going on, and so you're welcome to stay, but I know you may have other hearings you have to get to, so we're pleased that you were able to make this introduction. Senator McCormick,
Thank you.
You also would like to talk about.
Absolutely. It's great to follow in the footsteps of the senior senator from Pennsylvania. Jeff, you have your former opponents all introducing you today, which is great. I just want to congratulate all the nominees and Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Shaheen. Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm specifically here to introduce a native son of Reading. We got a lot of Reading native sons here in the audience, Senator Fetterman and Senator Barrasso. Jeff joins us today with his wife Cheryl, one of his two daughters, two great daughters, Emily and Sarah, who he always talks about with great pride. And welcome to you all. I'm sure you're very proud. Jeff is here today as the nominee for the U.S. Representative to the United Nations for Management and Reform. And I've seen up close Jeff's dedication to Pennsylvania and to serving our great country. And so, Jeff, thanks for accepting this challenge. You would bring years of great business experience, community leadership in our Commonwealth, a successful real estate developer, president of Last Line Strategies, previously president CEO of the Mark Group, and later division president of Toll Brothers in Horsham, Pennsylvania. You've had a great career. And you've also been active across many organizations in Philadelphia, including the Graham Partners Building Products Advisory Board, the Wexner Heritage Fellowship, the Kimmel Center for Performing Arts, and the Jewish Federation in Philadelphia. Also, as Senator Fetterman talked about, you've really been a leader in Pennsylvania, crisscrossing the state as a candidate for public office, the creator of the 30-Day Fund that raised millions to help small businesses hurt by COVID. But you know, you've got a tough assignment at the United Nations. And when we put United Nations and reform in the same sentence, that's a tough job. But I know from personal experience, I know the Senator does too, of your tenacity, your toughness, your desire to serve your community. And so we are very lucky to have that kind of leadership and grit to root out anti-Semitism and anti-Israel bias at the UN, to demand transparency and accountability on behalf of the Trump administration, more important, the American people. So I am pleased to join Senator Fetterman to support this nomination, and I urge all my colleagues on the committee to vote for someone who I know will do a great job on behalf of all Americans. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Senator McCormick. And now we'll move on to Senator Moody for Ms. Lucetta.
Thank you, Chairman Ricketts. Good morning. It is my honor to be here today to introduce President Trump's nominee to be the alternate representative of the United States of America for Special Political Affairs, as well as the alternate representative of the United States of America to the sessions of the General Assembly in the United Nations, my fellow Floridian, Jennifer Lucetta. It is no surprise, this is just another great Floridian volunteering her time and coming up to D.C. to serve her country. She is from Sarasota, Florida, and it is not the first time she is going to be serving on our country's behalf. During President Trump's first term, Ms. Lucetta served our country in various roles and helped advance President Trump's vision for a secure and prosperous America. And I know she will continue to do so when confirmed for these positions. Whether it was from her time as Special Assistant to the President and Associate Director of Presidential Personnel at the White House, to various roles she had in Florida, she worked hard on behalf of Floridians and Americans alike, and it gained extensive experience in personnel and management, as well as skills focused on enhancing security protocols. I can attest that, like many of my colleagues, this country is in need of someone to take up the America First mantle in its policy approach in all aspects of our foreign policy, from diplomatic negotiations to the United Nations, and many of the roles in which she will be confirmed. After 4 long years of America Last policies, we now need this more than ever. And I am thrilled that many great Floridians have volunteered to serve and have been nominated by this administration to carry out President Trump's vision for our country. I've seen just how critical the right leadership is to solving the most complex global issues, from Iran and its proxies' attacks on Israel and U.S. regional interests, to attempts by the People's Republic of China to infiltrate our universities and steal U.S. military technology. Our foreign policy is only as strong as the leadership we have in positions to respond to these events. President Trump has shown that strong leadership, demonstrated time and time again in dealing with malign actors globally, that it is necessary to pursuing a safer and more secure world. With America First policy, the world is safer, and peace should always be the goal in our foreign policy. Far too long, the United Nations and other international organizations have become the pawn of our adversaries, and that is why it is imperative that the Senate continues to do its duty to confirm President Trump's nominees and ensure that the United States' interests are adequately represented in the forums where it matters most. Ms. Laseta is the right person for this job at the right time. I trust that should she be confirmed, she will be a fierce advocate for America's priorities at the UN, stand up for Israel, and ensure strong representation and communication of President Trump's peace through strength vision. She will be an excellent representative of this great nation, and it is my honor to introduce to my colleagues and America, Jennifer Laseta.
Great. Thank you very much, Senator Moody. Appreciate you being here, and thank you very much for the introduction. Next, we'll move on to Ambassador Blanchard, and I believe Senator Britt, you would like to say a few words to introduce the ambassador.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chair Ricketts, Chairman Risch, Ranking Member Shaheen, members of this distinguished committee, and Senator Graham, who joins me right here. Happy birthday, sir.
I will note it's Senator Graham's 70th birthday, so congratulations, Senator.
If you're not 70, turn back. It's not good.
Mr. Chairman, it is an honor to join you all today to introduce my dear friend, Ambassador Linda Blanchard. She's President Trump's nominee to be the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Agencies for Food and Agriculture. She's the former U.S. Ambassador to Slovenia and an incredible businesswoman, philanthropist, and humanitarian. Linda is a native of Alabama's capital city, Montgomery, where I reside. She's devoted her life to elevating our state and supporting communities, not just in this nation, but across the globe. She has a record of bringing sustainable change through education, health, anti-hunger initiatives, you name it. She co-founded the 100X Development Foundation based in Montgomery that now serves over a dozen countries to help the most vulnerable, including children and families in poverty. It is her goal for the unseen to be seen, to be elevated and give an opportunity for success. She's served on numerous boards of local organizations like Agape of Central Alabama, a Christian foster care and adoption agency. She is also the founder and former senior advisor of real estate firm B&M Management Company, which speaks to her business acumen. And she currently serves as vice president of business affairs of Ascent Residential, where she oversees 25 properties across 9 states. This nomination also marks a return to diplomatic service for Linda. In June of 2018, President Trump nominated her as U.S. Ambassador to Slovenia, where she diligently served our nation for over a year and a half. In fact, she helped secure joint declaration of 5G technology and a memorandum of understanding concerning strategic nuclear cooperation between both countries. When I was president of the Business Council of Alabama, I had the opportunity to travel to Slovenia and see her firsthand. She is a force of nature. We know the challenges we have in front of us across the globe, and there is no one more prepared to meet those than her. Linda has a proven record of international experience and leadership, and she is ready to translate that longtime service in food, agriculture, and hunger issues to excel in this position. I have absolute confidence in her ability to strengthen international efforts to address food security and advance agricultural development and U.S.-led initiatives. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on her behalf. I look forward to seeing her strong leadership in action as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations agencies for food and agriculture.
Great. Thank you very much, Senator Britt. I know that Senator Tuberville also wants to say some words on your behalf, and I believe he's on his way. But in the meantime, we're going to go to Senator Graham to talk about Dr. Sinha, who's obviously up for Singapore. Senator Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Senator Coons, and to the committee, thanks for having me, and appreciate the birthday wishes. I can't believe I'm 70. So anyway, that's not your problem, that's mine. So Dr. Sinha I've known for years. He's been a friend of President Trump for over a decade, and he is quite a life. He was born in India. He's lost his father in a tragic car accident at the age of 13, and he assumed financial responsibility for his 6 siblings and widowed mother. He went on to graduate medical school in India at age 22. He then moved to India's capital city of Delhi in '72 to begin graduate studies and medical career, and eventually immigrated to the United States in 1977, settling in New York. Once in the United States, he started a orthopedic practice for over 40 years, specializing in orthopedic and sports medicine. He sold that practice. He started another practice and had 8 locations throughout New York. Very industrious, talented surgeon and businessman. He has deep ties to the Indo-Pacific region. He's positioned to relate to key stakeholders in the region. Singapore has a very vibrant medical community, a lot of medical tourism, biotech, medical innovation. All of this is right up his alley. I think he'll be a great spokesperson for our country in Singapore. He knows the region and he knows the issues, and I am very honored to introduce him. His wife of 48 years, Dr. Sinha, is a retired anesthesiologist. She was on the NYU faculty, and they have a daughter, son, and 3 grandchildren, and they have truly lived the American dream, and this is a way for him to give back to his country, and I heartily recommend his nomination to be ambassador to Singapore. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Senator Graham. Ambassador Blanchard, I understand that Senator Tuberville did get pulled away to something else. And Ms. Guilfoyle, Senator Haggerty is going to say some remarks about you when he has his time for questions. So don't feel left out. Senator Haggerty will be here. Now, what we'll do, before we turn to our panelists for their introductory statements, we'll follow that with a round of 5-minute questions. I will take the opportunity to thank all of our nominees first, however, for your willingness to serve our great country on the world stage, and congratulate all of you on this opportunity. Thank you also to your families, because they serve alongside with you. Ambassador Blanchard, you know that from personal experience. It's been the opportunity I've had as a governor to be able to do trade missions and see our staff overseas, and they do a fantastic job, but they do spend time away from their friends and families, and you will all be doing that to greater or lesser degrees as well. So thank you for your family sacrifices as you're confirmed, should you all be confirmed to these posts. These are not easy jobs. They're critical to ensuring that the United States can advance the interests and security of the American people around the globe. It's vital for our foreign policy that we have confirmed ambassadors in positions of importance. This is something I've heard consistently as I visit with partners and allies around the world. And this is a point that's been made by members of both parties repeatedly throughout my time on this committee, that we need to make sure that we get our nominees confirmed and in their positions in these important roles. Under Chairman Rish's leadership, I'm proud that this committee has prioritized this important responsibility of advancing President Trump's nominees. So far, 43 nominees have had hearings and have been voted on. This is a record pace, and everyone should be proud of that. Disappointingly, though, many of these nominees aren't yet confirmed. This hurts our ability to advance our interests. At a time when we are competing for influence with adversaries like Communist China, we cannot afford to let partisanship get in the way of what's best for our country. Thank you all again to the nominees for your willingness to serve, and I look forward to hearing your testimony and answer this committee's questions. So now we'll go into the panelists' opening statements, and Dr. Sinha, we'll go ahead and start with you. Would you like to begin?
Thank you, Senator Graham, although he left, but I just wanted to thank him. Chairman Ricketts and esteemed committee members, I'm humbled to stand before you today. I extend my deep gratitude to President Trump for his nomination and to Secretary Rubio for his support. With your concurrence and approval, I look forward to serving the United States to my fullest capacity. I would also like to thank my wife for 48 years, Kiki, and my son Sumit, who are here with me today. And a special thanks to my daughter Pooja, who has supported me closely through this process. She's watching us live from Norway with our grandkids. Kiki and I arrived in Brooklyn as a newly married couple from India. The United States has always recognized and invested in talent and growth from all corners of the world. Kiki and I were able to work hard and build a successful medical careers. Most importantly, we raised a beautiful family together, and we have served and supported our communities on Long Island, in Florida, and across the Northeast. United States is the only country on this planet where such amazing journey and achievements could be possible. We have lived the American dream, and for this, I feel immense gratitude to this nation and to our fellow Americans. United States is an Indo-Pacific nation, and our connection to and interest in the region are deep. I myself was born in India and have a strong understanding and respect for the region's culture, people, and the values. Singapore is our key strategic partner and a friend in the Indo-Pacific. Close cooperation with Singapore, along with our other allies and partners in this region, is more critical today than ever before. If confirmed, my duty will be to advance and implement the policies of the United States and to promote US interest. In Singapore, I look to expand and deepen our defense and security cooperation, economic and trade relationship, people-to-people ties. I see tremendous opportunities for the United States with Singapore, and I will call on the incredible talent and knowledge of our State Department and interagency professionals. There are so many potential areas for growth in this vital relationship, which has already seen significant advancement in defense and security cooperation, and made great strides in collaborating on cutting-edge technologies. Finally, I will rely on my own skills as a lifelong bridge builder and advocate, making important connections with the people from all walks of life. As a medical professional, the well-being of my patients, their families, and my employees for over 4 decades, I do not take lightly my obligation to similarly protect American citizens in Singapore, including our mission personnel. Distinguished senators, it would be my greatest honor to serve our United States of America, the country and people who have given me and my family so much. I pledge to fulfill my duties with integrity and to work hard to deepen our important relationship with Singapore. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Sinha. And I might notice you got that all done in 4 minutes. You didn't take the whole 5 minutes, so thank you very much. I forgot to mention that, but you did a great job.
Thank you.
So, what?
Star by his name.
Star by his name, exactly right. So I would ask all of our panelists to kind of keep it to 5 minutes, or you could follow Dr. Sinha's example and just keep it to 4 minutes. Mr. Barros, you're up next.
I first want to thank my home state senators and my good friends, Senator Fetterman and Senator McCormick. Thank you for your friendship and support. It means the world to me. Thank you, Chairman Ricketts and distinguished members of this committee. I am honored to appear before you today as the President's nominee to serve as the representative of the United States of America to the United Nations for UN Management and Reform. Thank you to President Trump and Secretary Rubio for their confidence and for this opportunity to serve the American people. Growing up in Reading, Pennsylvania, Senator McCormick pointed out, 3 of us from Reading here this morning. Growing up in Reading, Pennsylvania, I dreamed of one day serving our country. Cheryl, my wife of almost 28 years, grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We met in Charlottesville, Virginia, and raised our 2 daughters, Emily and Sarah, in the Philadelphia suburbs. Cheryl, Emily, and Sarah, I would not be here today without you, and I'm grateful for your love and support. And your patience, because as the senators know, the political world is not so easy on the family. I am thinking today, as I do every day, of my mother, Adrienne, who we lost to cancer in 2018. To my brother, Todd, who is also here with us today, and to my father, David, and to Cheryl's parents, Lou and Roberta, who are watching online, thank you for your love and support. After World War II, the United States, along with the other 51 founding members of the UN, signed the UN Charter with the commitment to prevent future wars and to promote international peace and security. Unfortunately, over the past 80 years, the UN has strayed from its foundational goals and lost sight of the principles it was established to defend. From UN bodies with overlapping mandates to the deep rot of its anti-Israel bias, the UN needs to get back to basics and recommit to the values enshrined in its charter. If confirmed, I will work to implement President Trump's America First foreign policy at the UN and to return the UN to its original mandate of promoting international peace and security with the goal, as set forth in its charter, to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war. American taxpayers deserve transparency and accountability for the funding we provide to the UN and a commitment that their money is not funding waste, fraud, or abuse. American taxpayer dollars going to the UN should advance our national interest and contribute to making our country safer, stronger, and more prosperous. If confirmed, I will work to ensure stringent accountability, transparency, and reform at the UN, including eliminating redundancy, unnecessary activities, and creeping mandates. I will focus on streamlining the UN budget, reducing staff footprint, and pushing for more equitable burden sharing among member states. As the largest financial contributor to UN peacekeeping, the United States must demand the most efficient use of U.S. taxpayer dollars in peacekeeping operations. If confirmed, I will push for long-term structural financial efficiency in peacekeeping missions and increased burden sharing from nations that share our priorities for UN reform. I will work with my colleagues to review the programmatic effectiveness of individual peacekeeping missions and ensure these mission mandates are realistic and achievable with clear exit strategies for each mission. We must also ensure that the UN upholds its zero-tolerance policy for sexual exploitation and abuse and uses all tools available to push for accountability. Our standard should be very simple. One case of abuse is one too many. U.S. representation in UN leadership and staffing is not commensurate with our financial contributions. If confirmed, I will work to ensure that more Americans are working at the UN. American citizens bring our values to their work in the UN system and are one of our best defenses against nations that seek to exploit and manipulate the UN for their own interests, especially China. If confirmed, I will demand the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and efficiency in UN hiring and invest in American citizen talent pipelines. I am eager to support the Trump administration's strategy to place more American citizens in appointed and elected positions at the UN, something, Mr. Chairman, I know you and your colleagues would like to see as well. As the UN turns 80 this year, the United States is not alone in recognizing the need for reform. If confirmed, I look forward to working closely with other member states in the Fifth Committee and the General Assembly to pursue these much-needed reforms. It would be the honor of a lifetime to represent our nation at the UN in New York and to pursue the reforms needed to advance the United States' interests and to promote international peace and security. Thank you again to you and your staff for all of the time and hard work that go into this process. I'm grateful for your advice and guidance, and I look forward to your questions.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Pardos. Our esteemed chairman, who is letting me stand in for him today at the hearing, has requested a moment of personal privilege, so.
Please.
Chairman Risch.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say thank you for standing in and other members of the committee who have. As has been noted, we're almost 50 people now we've had hearings on, and it's really difficult for the chair to take these on all alone. So if we can have the assistance of the other members of the committee to hold subcommittee hearings, that works really, really well. I'm not telling anything that this panel doesn't know, and that is that these appointments are complicated. They take a long time, and the preparation on this side is just as lengthy as it is on your side. And I'd like to recognize publicly and thank Sergio Gore from the White House, who handles personnel matters. He's with us for the first time today, and with him is his assistant Morgan DeWitt. From our staff, Kelsey Kelleher. Kelsey? She's in back. But anyway, all of us work together to make these things happen. We met even before we started these hearings. It's worked really, really well, the system that we've put in place. We even had Kelsey embedded a bit at the White House as we move this, and the State Department as we move this forward. But it's been really good, as you noted, that we are on really on record pace for getting people through this committee. The floor is struggling a little bit, but still at a record pace, and that's a result of the work of all these people that they've put to, that have helped do this all together. So anyway, I want to thank everybody and thank all those who were involved in this. Senator Shaheen's been very helpful. She and I were both governors and are both committed to the principle that chief executive can't do the job without having the team in place. And speaking of the chief executive, I think, Sergio, you can either confirm or deny, but we almost have him to the point where he believes we're on a record pace. So I'm getting less calls, which has got to be something good. So with that, I should point out, too, we have another special guest. The President Trump's grandson, Donald J. III, is here with us today. We don't get many of the first family here, so we're certainly welcome you to the hearing. With that, I will yield back, and thank you, Senator Ricketts.
Great. Thank you, Chairman Risch. And with that, Ms. Guilfoyle, I said you weren't going to be left out. Senator Hagerty is here, and so Senator Hagerty would like to do his introduction for you.
Well, I want to thank the chair, and thank you for standing in for me today, Mr. Chairman, as well, to attend to a family health issue. But it's a great privilege to be here with all of you. And I'd like to congratulate all of you, too. The roles that you're about to take on are incredibly important. Having done a role similar to what several of you are doing, I've got a great respect for not only you, but your families, and to all of the families that are here. The role that you will play is absolutely critical in the success of your spouse, your loved one. So thank you. But it's a special treat and privilege to introduce a good friend of mine today, and that is Kimberly Guilfoyle. She is President Trump's nominee to be the U.S. Ambassador to Greece. She's a deeply experienced attorney, a nationally respected commentator on politics and public policy, and she's a great political strategist. Throughout her career, Kimberly's excelled in both the private sector and in her public service roles. Indeed, her distinguished background and long-standing commitment to public engagement make her an absolutely excellent candidate to be the United States Ambassador to Greece. Ms. Guilfoyle worked as a broadcaster at Fox News, where she co-hosted The Five and Outnumbered, and previously appeared as a legal analyst on CNN, ABC, and Court TV. Earlier in her career, Kimberly served as a prosecutor in the San Francisco District Attorney's Office and as Deputy District Attorney in Los Angeles, where she generated national recognition for her legal acumen. Her academic and civic credentials further support her nomination, having graduated magna cum laude from University of California, Davis, and earned a JD from the University of San Francisco School of Law. She's also the recipient of multiple awards recognizing her legal work, her public service, and her advocacy, including the Heritage of Hope Award from the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children and the Special Civil Rights Award from the City of New York. Most recently, in January, she was awarded what is known as the emblematic icon by the Archbishop of the Greek Orthodox Church of America, commemorating Kimberly's spiritual and cultural bonds with Greece and the United States. Thank you for your contributions to that relationship, Kimberly. Her strong expertise and experience, as well as her deep ties to the Greek American community, make her extremely well qualified to represent the United States in Greece. And on a very personal note, I want to acknowledge that as I moved from my prior post as U.S. Ambassador to Japan to the United States Senate, Kimberly was there for me from the very beginning. She came and joined me in my small hometown in Tennessee to kick off my campaign. And Kimberly, you've been a friend from the very start and helped me open this new chapter in my life. And I couldn't be more honored to be here to congratulate you and help you open this important new chapter in your life. And I encourage all of my colleagues to support her nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hagerty. And now, Ambassador Blanchard, we will go to your opening remarks.
Chairman Reish, Chair Ricketts, and distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. And a special thank you, of course, to Senator Katie Britt from the great state of Alabama. I have the opportunity and have been honored to have been nominated by President Trump to serve as the U.S. representative to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Agencies in Rome. I am joined here today by my family, my husband, John, son, Benjamin, my daughters, and several, Haley, Karen, Jennifer, Gracie, and Lucero, and my twin sister, whose unwavering love and support have made this moment possible. I would not be here without them. Our country has afforded me many opportunities for which I'm very grateful. I married at 19, became a mom to a 3-year-old son shortly thereafter, and earned my degree in my 30s when we were finally able to afford it. I'm a proud adoptive parent of children from all over the world, my mini UN, as we are affectionately called, as you can see behind me. I have served in a variety of professional roles, at times just to make ends meet. This includes serving as an orthopedic assistant, business executive, and humanitarian. I have partnered with international business leaders and foreign dignitaries on projects to improve education, decrease poverty, and instill dignity and hope. Our nonprofit organization has provided care to thousands of children across the globe. I bring to this role a combination of humanitarian passion, business acumen, and large-scale management experience. I was honored to serve as U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of Slovenia during President Trump's first term, where I was able to advance critical administration priorities from 5G technology deployment and U.S. energy strategy to negotiating a multi-billion-dollar memorandum of understanding for a new nuclear partnership between the United States and Slovenia. I was privileged to also have been serving as ambassador to Slovenia when the public perception of the U.S. actually turned notably more positive. Today, the need for change and reform within the United Nations is more urgent than ever. Under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Rubio, the United States is reevaluating its relationship with international organizations and ensuring our involvement advances American interests. The United States has the opportunity to shape UN food and agriculture agencies to overcome the challenges of our time. I understand the importance of the U.S. mission to UN agencies in Rome. Food security is a life or death issue for hundreds of millions of people around the world. Moreover, these agencies directly affect U.S. farmers and producers as billions of dollars of American agriculture exports move through their programs. However, over the years, the United Nations and its associated agencies have continued to grow and expand their mandate beyond original intentions. With this growth, a proliferation of bloated bureaucracies has taken hold, distracting the UN from its core principles. President Trump and Secretary Rubio recognize this issue and have asked the State Department to re-examine our engagement with UN organizations. If confirmed, I will bring everything I have to ensure that the UN organizations the United States chooses to engage with are efficient and effective stewards of U.S. taxpayer dollars. As Secretary Rubio has also said, every dollar we spend, every program we fund, and every policy we pursue must be justified with the answer to 3 simple questions. Does it make America safer? Does it make America stronger? And does it make America more prosperous? Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm grateful for this nomination, and if confirmed, I will work closely with you and your staff to advance an America First foreign policy and ensure that the United States remains a principled, effective leader on the world stage, especially in the fight against global hunger. I look forward.
Dear friend of many years, Senator Haggerty, for your kind introduction, for your stewardship and service to this country in multiple roles that you have done. And you're someone I greatly look up to, admire, and hope to follow in the footsteps of your great service to this country. And thank you to the esteemed members of this committee. Thank you for standing in, Subcommittee Chairman Mr. Ricketts, Chairman Risch, Senator McCormick, another great friend, and Senator Coons, who showed up here earlier today. It is with great and profound sense of honor and deep humility that I appear before you today as President Trump's nominee to serve as the United States Ambassador to Greece. I extend my sincerest gratitude to the President for his faith in my abilities, and to Secretary Rubio and to Sergio Gore here present today, the head of PPO, and his amazing team for their collective trust and confidence placed in me. I also thank this committee for the opportunity to be here and for your careful consideration of my nomination. I would like to thank my closest family and friends for their support, their encouragement throughout this process. I would like to offer special thanks and love to my son Ronan, my brother Tony Guilfoyle, and to Donnie Trump for their steadfast support. I also would like to thank my parents, who would be so incredibly proud to see me here today. My mother, Mercedes, was a special education teacher from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. My father, an immigrant from Ireland, came to this nation in pursuit of the American dream, and now I consider it my duty to carry on the mission and the values that they instilled in me. To be nominated to represent the United States is truly a great privilege, and to be considered for a post in Greece, the very birthplace of democracy, is a uniquely humbling honor. The ideals of liberty, self-governance, and the rule of law that were born in ancient Athens have echoed through the centuries, inspiring generations of thinkers and leaders, including our own nation's founders. This profound legacy, which has greatly influenced the world and the formation of our own republic, resonates with my own lifelong dedication to public service and the unwavering pursuit of a more just and prosperous world through strong international partnerships. My career path has been defined by a steadfast commitment to advocacy and public engagement. As a prosecutor in the demanding environments of both San Francisco and Los Angeles, I was entrusted to be a voice for those who could not speak for themselves and to uphold the foundational principles of our legal system. This experience honed the skills of careful negotiation, clear-eyed analysis, and the pursuit of truth, qualities I believe are indispensable to effective diplomacy. Subsequently, my decades in the media as a legal analyst and television host provided me with a platform to elevate critical issues, spotlight injustice, and champion truth on a wide range of priorities and for audiences across the globe. These endeavors, coupled with my active engagement in public advocacy and the political arena, including during my service as First Lady of San Francisco, have provided me with a keen and timely understanding of international relations and an unshakable belief in the power of robust alliances to advance our shared interests and values. If confirmed, I pledge to bring the full measure of this experience to bear in Athens. I'm prepared to be a tireless advocate for American interests, a steadfast partner for our Greek allies, and a proud and loyal representative of the President and the American people. Over the past several decades, Greece has evolved to be a pillar of stability in a complex region, and its commitment to our shared security within the NATO alliance matters more than ever. Consistently ranking among the top spending allies, Greece is projected to continue dedicating 3% of its GDP to defense in 2025, and is on a trajectory to reach 5%, in line with the alliance's commitment at The Hague. This is not merely a matter of statistics. It is a tangible investment in our collective security. Furthermore, a substantial portion of this expenditure has been directed toward the acquisition of cutting-edge U.S. defense technology, including the formidable F-35 fighter jets, advanced Apache and Black Hawk helicopters, and modern naval vessels. Additionally, the proposed joint project to co-produce Constellation-class naval frigates demonstrates Greece's long-term commitment to our strategic defense partnership. These modernization efforts enhance Greece's significant military capabilities, strengthen the eastern flank of our NATO alliance, and create valuable opportunities for American industry. If confirmed, I will make it a top priority to further accelerate Greece's defense modernization by fostering even greater cooperation and synergy between our defense sectors. The United States and Greece have made tremendous progress on energy cooperation. Greece's Revithoussa LNG terminal and the construction of the Alexandroupoli floating storage regasification unit is allowing the U.S. to export more gas to Europe. While U.S. natural gas now accounts for 20% of gas in Greece, up from 2% 5 years ago, there are huge opportunities to sell more U.S. energy to Greece and its neighbors. If confirmed, I will work with the so-called vertical corridor between Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, Ukraine, and Central Europe so that Greece can become a hub of U.S. gas for the region. I will also encourage Greece's progress on constructing electricity interconnectors and its neighbors, including Cyprus, Israel, and Egypt, which contribute to regional energy diversification and security. Economic opportunity remains a central pillar of the robust U.S.-Greece relationship. If confirmed, I will serve as a proactive and strategic partner in advancing U.S. trade and investment interests, building on successful efforts to expand opportunities for American firms across key sectors, including defense, energy, shipping, infrastructure, technology, AI, pharmaceuticals, hospitality, and agriculture. I will also actively pursue pathways to encourage and facilitate Greek investment in the United States, fostering a more balanced, resilient, and mutually beneficial economic partnership. Ultimately, the enduring strength of the U.S.-Greece relationship is built upon the solid bedrock of our people-to-people ties. The vibrant Greek-American and Greek Orthodox community has made immeasurable contributions to the fabric of our nation, and the bonds of culture, family, and shared heritage between our countries run deep. I am also deeply committed to championing religious freedom, an essential pillar of all democratic societies and a core value we share with our Greek allies. If confirmed, I look forward to engaging with and supporting the vital work of Greek cultural, educational institutions, non-governmental organizations, municipalities, and individual citizens. I am committed to working alongside the diaspora to further strengthen these essential human connections that bind our nations in a spirit of friendship and mutual respect. Thank you once again for the honor of appearing before you today.
Thank you, Ms. Gufon. Ms. Lucena.
Thank you, Chairman Ricketts. Thank you, Chairman Risch, and distinguished members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. Also, a special thank you to my home state senator, Senator Ashley Moody, for the gracious introduction. Thank you for all you do for Florida. I am grateful to be nominated by President Trump to serve as the alternate representative of the United States for Special Political Affairs at the United Nations. I am honored by the confidence and trust placed in me by President Trump and Secretary Rubio to represent the United States and to advance American interests at the UN. First and foremost, I would like to thank my family, as I would not be here without them. I want to thank my husband, Bryce, my almost 2-year-old son, Noel, my mom, Denise, and my sister, Kim, who are here with us today. I would also like to thank my dad, Mike, and the other members of my family who are unable to be here. I appreciate everyone's love and support throughout this process. Growing up in Florida, my interest in American government and politics started at a young age, from volunteering on local campaigns to attending Girl State. In 2015, I went to work for then-candidate President Trump on his historic campaign. In the first administration, I was honored to serve as a special assistant to the president and associate director of presidential personnel. The experiences of the past 10 years have taught me the importance of a foreign policy that benefits the American people. If confirmed, I look forward to implementing President Trump's America First foreign policy agenda at the United Nations. Almost 80 years ago, the United States helped to establish the United Nations to prevent future wars and promote international peace and security. The UN Security Council is meant to be the heart of that principle. The United States has made many important policy achievements at the UN, such as the Trump administration's historic efforts to negotiate a resolution that calls for an end to the conflict in Ukraine. The reality for the United Nations as an institution, however, is that it has not lived up to its mission or its potential. There is rampant anti-Israel bias in the UN system that unfairly targets Israel and undermines its sovereign right to self-defense. Moreover, the Security Council often struggles to take decisive action on conflicts that need real-time responses. Evolving threats to international security do not respect national borders and demand action. Whether it is terrorism, illicit drugs, cybersecurity, or weapons of mass destruction, these are the challenges that require U.S. leadership to ensure that the UN is resolving and preventing conflicts. If confirmed, I will engage with our international partners and allies to drive long-term solutions and further national interests on these issues and more, including in areas like the Middle East and in countries like Haiti, Sudan, and the Ukraine. If confirmed, I will assess any proposal at the Security Council and General Assembly by the metric of whether it makes the United States safer, stronger, and more prosperous. Doing so will make the UN more efficient and effective. This includes pushing back on countries like China to ensure that they do not exploit international organizations and standards to advance the narrow interests of the Chinese Communist Party. I will also examine UN peacekeeping and special political mandates to ensure that those mandates are best focused on maintaining international peace and security, have transparent budgets, and are operating in the most efficient way possible. If confirmed, the core of my responsibility will be to push the UN to return to its original mandate to maintain international peace and security. I will advocate for our national interest, engage with international partners and allies to drive outcomes, and ensure accountability for the U.S. taxpayer dollar. Through President Trump's agenda, we can once again have peace and prosperity. I would be honored to join the administration and work side by side with the dedicated staff at the U.S. mission to the United Nations in New York. We must demand more of the UN because we know it has the potential and the capacity to do better. Again, thank you for your time and the opportunity to come before you today.
Thank you, Ms. Lucena, and thank you all for your opening remarks. We will now move into a round of 5-minute questions, as long as we have people here to ask those questions. I will begin. Dr. Sinha, Singapore is one of our more vital partners in the Indo-Pacific. On the security front, it supports rotational U.S. military deployments, enables our patrols throughout the region, hosts thousands of American sailors, airmen, and their families, and is a significant buyer and user of U.S. defense technologies. It's also a hub for maritime trade and financial services, a gateway for over 6,000 American businesses operating in Asia, and a leader in emerging technologies. Oftentimes, an American company's first step into the Indo-Pacific is in Singapore. I recently had the pleasure of meeting with Singapore's Prime Minister Wong, Foreign Minister Balakrishnan, and Defense Minister Chan at the Shangri-La Dialogue. And I can confirm Singapore's desire to not only maintain our strong partnership, but to build upon it. Dr. Sinha, as ambassador, what areas will you prioritize to strengthen the U.S.-Singapore partnership and deepen our cooperation?
Thank you for your question, Senator. As you know, I am a physician, a surgeon, so I have been a long-time bridge builder, and I believe strongly in a person-to-person connection. If confirmed, my first basis would be to go there and create a very good, strong relationship with the Singapore government. And obviously, I will do my best to increase I will deepen the defense, security, and economic tie with Singapore. So,
Well, I think you should make a good connection with the foreign minister there.
Yes.
I believe he's also a physician.
actually, between him and I, there are so many things common. He went to his school and became an eye surgeon. I went to his school and became an orthopedic surgeon. His wife is a physician who became neurologist. My wife is an anesthesiologist. And his kids are lawyers. Our kids are lawyers and doctors. So we have a strong connection already.
Very good, very good. Nebraska is the nation's 5th largest agricultural exporter with nearly $8 billion in ag exports last year, the 3rd highest total on record. Simply put, when Nebraska agriculture thrives, so does my state. Nebraska's impact just isn't domestic, though, it's global. In western Nebraska, cooperatives package and ship dry edible beans used in the World Food Program humanitarian operations, delivering American-grown products to save lives in some of the world's hardest-hit regions. Ambassador Blanchard, in your testimony, you discussed the dire need to bring reforms to the UN and its associated agencies, and I agree wholeheartedly. You also acknowledged that billions of dollars of American agricultural exports move through these UN programs, which directly affects farmers and producers in my state. How will you work to clean up the waste and mismanagement in Rome, while at the same time ensuring that American farmers and producers aren't unintentionally harmed?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. First of all, I can tell you, in the first administration, we all know that President Trump's #1 focus was farmers first, and I never would put any words in his mouth, but I would love to just reiterate that that was his focus the first term, and anything that benefits farmers is a win. And I can tell you, as US-UN Rome nominee ambassador, that it would be my pleasure to continue the partnership and see how we can grow it and be sure that the partners that we are bringing in that we can't use the maritime for because it's so far, the cost prohibited, that those partners that we're not using in the states as farmers, that we need to be able to be sure that they're giving us the right deals. When we're not using our farmers, we need to be sure the others are giving us the right deals. That's one area I really want to focus on, and certainly always increasing partnerships with U.S. farmers. I've already had the pleasure of that the USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins has reached out to me. She's already been to Post, and we said we would discuss after, if confirmed, the hearings and see how we can increase everything for our farmers and sending produce abroad. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you, Ambassador. Senator Hagerty.
Thank you, Chairman Ricketts, and again, welcome to all of you. Several of the panelists today are nominated to serve at the United Nations, so I'd like to start with the United Nations today, if I might. If you think about it, the United Nations has become the poster child of ineffective bureaucracy. It's bloated, it's slow-moving, it's resistant to reform. And despite the billions of dollars of annual contributions that come to the UN disproportionately coming from the United States, the organization remains plagued by overlapping mandates, weak accountability, and an entrenched culture of cultural inefficiency. If I think about it, the UN all too often takes and diverts their resources into administrative overhead rather than frontline impact. Its missions suffer from poor oversight, and its decision-making is quite often politicized. So, Mr. Bartos, I'd like to start with you. Just explain to us your plans for increasing the efficiency and the financial accountability and impact of the United Nations.
Senator, thank you for the question, and I want to also say thank you for your leadership from the time you got to the Senate on defunding UNRWA and working towards the dismantlement of UNRWA. It's meant a lot to so many people, your leadership on that. And we, if confirmed, will be serving under the most consequential an effective president in history for the U.S.-Israel relationship, as well as a leader whose record of combating anti-Semitism is second to none. And so while we approach the 50th anniversary of the stain of the Zionism is racism resolution at the UN, a stain on that body that is almost 50 years old, it seems like this is an organization that's immune, or resistance a good word, but I would say almost it's just immune to reform.
Well, I think they've demonstrated their perspective, and you have a unique window of opportunity, I think.
I do. It's because of President Trump's leadership, his vision, his leadership, and his charge to us that every dollar that goes through the UN system cannot be. The American people are the most generous people on earth. We have been the most generous funders. Our nation has been the most generous funders for 80 years. And the President has charged, and Secretary Rubio has charged to say, not a dollar of that can go to waste, fraud, and abuse. And every dollar must make us safer, stronger, and more prosperous. And I think it's with presidential leadership, leadership of the Secretary of State, and if confirmed, our team to use our generosity and the U.S.'s role at the UN, our dollars need to matter. They need to matter in procurement, they need to matter in personnel, and they need to matter when we say that this organization needs to be, or this particular agency needs reform. It's that presidential leadership from the Secretary, and if confirmed, our team's leadership to execute the President's America First agenda.
It's an organization that cries out for leadership and, frankly, respect for those that fund it. I've attended the United States General Assembly meeting when President Trump spoke. I've been there on multiple occasions with President Trump. That organization is basically out of control right now in terms of their inefficiency, their lack of respect for those that fund it, and the politicization of many of the institutions. And on the politicization front, I'd like to turn to you, Ms. Laseta. If you think about it, the UN was founded on principles of peace, security, and human rights. But the organization has become increasingly politicized. If you think about the authoritarian regimes there right now that seem to dominate its institutions, they do it in a way that legitimizes their own agendas. They do it in a way that helps them avoid scrutiny. I wanted you to talk specifically about how you would address the politicization within UN agencies. Think about the Human Rights Council, UNESCO. These sort of hostile authoritarian regimes often take these organizations and steer their agendas in a way that's very contrary to U.S. interest.
Thank you, Senator, for your question, and I share your concern. As you know, in February, President Trump signed an executive order to withdraw the United States from the Human Rights Council. That same executive order also called for the review of our participation in international organizations to make sure that our participation aligns with national interests. Many organizations within the UN have lost their way. Both the Human Rights Council and UNESCO continually serve as examples of the pervasive anti-Israel bias that exists within the UN. They continually push back on Israel's right to sovereign self-defense, and further, an organization like the Human Rights Council enables countries with brutal regimes like Cuba, Venezuela, and North Korea to have a platform despite their own terrible records with human rights abuses. These organizations must get back to the founding principles of the UN, which is to prevent war and to maintain international peace and security. If confirmed, I will work with the State Department on the outcome of their review, and I will review our participation in international organizations to make sure that everything that we do makes sure that America is stronger, safer, and more prosperous.
Well, beyond review, I hope you hold them to account. Mr. Chair, if you would indulge me with one final question. I'd like to come back to you, Ambassador Blanchard. I'm very interested in your leadership and look forward to your leadership at the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization and the related agencies in Rome. I visited that mission in the past, and I'm very concerned about the influence that exists there right now. The Director General today, Director Chu Dong-yu, and his deputies have basically steered FAO priorities in a direction that supports Beijing and its desires, and certainly in means that don't support the United States and our allies. If you look ahead to the 2027 election of a new Director General, I'd just like to know if you plan to make certain that we have either a U.S. nominee or at least an ally as a nominee to be the new Director General so we can get this organization back on course.
Thank you, Senator, for the question. Certainly, I've been looking forward. I've already Had the pleasure to speak with my deputy, who has already arrived at post, and I told him let's not get ahead of the Senate, but he has informed me of some things, and we really would like to focus on building partnerships with our allies right away, if confirmed when I get to post, because it's the partnerships that'll be able to elect all the new entities, and of course, all the infiltration, not to mention in the other areas that the CCP has tried to take over abroad in our food sourcing. So it'll be my pleasure to partner with our allies and figure out how we can come together and pick a candidate that can win and that can lead this organization with like-minded American initiatives.
Well, I look forward to a new nominee and many more purchases of Nebraska agricultural products. And with that, I'd also just like to commend all of our nominees to the UN. You've got a challenging job ahead of you, but we absolutely need you to take care of that. And to our 2 country ambassadors nominees, I look forward to your confirmation and working with you in your future roles. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great, Senator Hagerty. Senator Coons.
Mr. Chairman, I'll defer to my friend and colleague from the state of Illinois, given the pressing business of the NDA.
Great. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. Dr. Sinha, you say you know how important the United States-Singapore relationship is, and I think you know that it's important to me as all of our relationship with the ASEAN nations. This is not a role you can just pick up on a whim, or because you think it will be glamorous, or because Singapore is a great place to live. Our diplomats are dedicated. They're hard workers who represent the United States every day on the front lines, anticipating crises and providing invaluable expertise to help prevent conflicts from exploding into catastrophes. I am not opposed to political appointees, and in fact, my colleague across the aisle, the senator from Tennessee, did an incredible job as an appointee to a critical United States ally, the country of Japan, and I really enjoyed working with him when he was ambassador there. But frankly, I don't think you are particularly qualified for this role, and I'm concerned about how your lack of understanding may even inadvertently cause friction in our critical relationship. Will you even be able to effectively lead our mission in Singapore? I have my doubts. So my questions are going to be to allow you to assuage my doubts and win my vote. Dr. Sinha, I need to know that you understand some basic facts about Singapore and its critical relationship with the United States. For example, in 2024, did the United States have a trade deficit with Singapore? Yes or no? It did not. How large was the U.S.'s trade surplus with Singapore in 2024?
$80 billion. $18 billion.
2.8. You're off by a huge factor. The United States had a $2.8 billion trade surplus with Singapore in 2024. If confirmed, how would you explain our friendship in Singapore to the President? How would you explain to our friends in Singapore the President's threats to slap tariffs as high as 25% on their country, given that the United States has nearly $3 billion trade surplus with Singapore?
Thank you for your question, Senator. We are not walking away for any dialogue between the 2 countries and 2 leaders. If confirmed, I will make a personal relation with the government of Singapore, and I will make sure the dialogue continues and we settle the issues of trade together.
Do you support increasing a tariff on Singapore, seeing as how we don't have they buy more of our stuff than we buy of theirs?
So, Senator,
so you want to put a tariff on them?
Thank you for your question, Senator. You know that we have President has only done 10% of trade increase with the Singapore, and he's open to dialogue even for that.
Do you agree? Do you agree with that 10% increase with Singapore? It seems how they don't have a surplus with us.
Well,
yes or no? Do you support the President's plan to put a 10% tariff on Singapore goods produced in Singapore?
I mean, Senator, thank you for your question, but I believe in President's decision of a free trade with any nations in the world, and he's resetting the trade numbers with each country, and he's open for discussion and dialogue with each country.
So you would like to have free trade with Singapore? That's what you would push for as ambassador?
Well, we always had free trade with Singapore since 2004.
So so do you support the 10% tariff increase?
the dialogue is not yet closed. The door is
Okay.
not closed.
Let's go on to the next thing. What year is Singapore next scheduled to be the ASEAN chair?
This year is Malaysia.
I didn't ask you about this year. When is Singapore going to be the ASEAN chair?
I don't know when, but this year.
2027. Please describe what holding the ASEAN chair will entail for Singapore and how you would support Singapore in your role as U.S. ambassador if confirmed. What are some of the critical things that Singapore will have to do as a chair of ASEAN?
I mean, I agree with you that you had made a statement that all the ASEAN members should be treated like almost
no, answer
like.
my question. What does holding the ASEAN chairmanship entail for Singapore? Can you name one thing? A role that they will have to play as ASEAN chair. What will?
Well, there you know that this ASEAN chair is not only one country. There are 10 countries involved.
No, the ASEAN chair is one country.
One
leading
country,
10.
but there are 10 countries involved as an ASEAN group.
You're not answering my question. You're not answering my question, sir. Can you name one thing that will be of critical importance to Singapore as ASEAN chair? A role. There are many things. Can you name one
Defense,
thing?
economics.
Those are very broad. Name an issue.
Trade.
I don't think, no. Okay, let's do something. In what way does the United States Navy work with Singapore, and how do you envision strengthening the U.S. Navy's work with Singapore? And are there any facilities that come to mind that are central to our relationship with Singapore?
Thank you for your question, but we have a naval presence in Singapore, and our military, they always do exercise with the Singapore. They come here, the Army of Singapore, they come here for the training as well. So we have a close ties with the Singapore in defense.
Can you name a specific thing? Please, I'm trying to help you here, but you've not even done your homework, sir. You want to be ambassador to Singapore, one of the most important friends we have in the Indo-Pacific, a key place that we're going to be fighting against our greatest adversary in the region, the PRC. Singapore may feature incredible culture, but that should not be treated as a glamour posting. This nation is too important to the United States, to ASEAN, to the entire region. And frankly, I think the mission is important to U.S. interests and national security, and it should actually be a foreign service officer. But I have even larger concerns with the political pick, when that political pick is somebody as unqualified as you. I've opposed political picks for Singapore from Democrats. So this is not a partisan issue. I just feel that you are not taking this seriously, and you think this is a glamour posting, that you're going to live a nice life in Singapore. But what we need is someone who's going to actually do the work. I'm out of time. I have a couple additional questions related to management that I'll submit for the record, but I want to reinforce again for you right now, you are not currently prepared for this posting, period, and you need to shape up and do some homework.
Senator Coons.
Thank you, Senator Ricketts, and thank you to all of you for your willingness to serve our nation, represent us overseas. I will focus on the nominees for UN posts, but no disrespect to the others. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Mr. Bartos, we've known each other well. You were introduced by both the Democrat and Republican senators of Pennsylvania. Congratulations. Folks against whom you ran in a previous cycle, double congratulations. And to you and your family. The UN is a crucial area, in my view, for the United States to advance its national interests. And as you cited in your opening comments, the UN Charter focuses on promoting peace, security, and stability, and we need a UN that is focused on those priorities. I was encouraged that you also emphasized the importance of expanding the number of Americans who are in the UN system globally. Over the last 15 years that I've served on this committee, over several administrations, my view is that when we withdraw from the UN, our adversaries simply advance and fill the gaps that we create. So your challenge is going to be to balance ensuring that the money that we invest in the UN and the systems and organizations at the UN are efficient, are transparent, are delivering on their mission, but to not abandon that mission, to not completely withdraw. One of my core concerns is that the US-UN reform process might look like what happened to the USAID. We could have had a balanced, bipartisan, measured process that looked hard at inefficiency in USAID, narrowed its focus, and prioritized an American national interests. Instead, it was simply slashed and shut down, largely with no consultation with Congress. If confirmed, will you commit to engaging with Congress regularly on reform efforts to ensure that there's bipartisan support both for sustained U.S. leadership in the UN system and for any reforms that are proposed and that you're carrying out?
Senator, thank you for your question, and I'm smiling here because we've known each other 20 years.
Yep.
And who would have thought 20 years ago when we were working on sewer issues in Newcastle County, Delaware, that we'd be sitting here. So it's an honor to be with you.
God indeed has a sense of humor.
Yes, yes, sir. And it's wonderful to see you, and thank you for your question. Yes, I can strongly commit, and if confirmed, look forward to working with the committee to address all of these issues. I'm inspired by Secretary Rubio's leadership. I'm deeply grateful to President Trump for his leadership, and if confirmed, I look forward to working as often as you'll have me with this committee to address these issues. Thank you, sir.
To your point about the importance of having Americans, how will you advance American representation in the UN system at the same time that there are proposals that would dramatically cut back our contributions to the system?
So thank you for the question. In his first term, President Trump established the directive that we were to have an agency at I.O. at the State Department to focus on either elections where United States citizens could run and or be appointed to certain agency heads. That office, any of us involved in politics would love to have a record that office has achieved over the last 5 years. If memory serves, it's something like 28 contested positions and 23 or 24 successful candidates. It's a fantastic record. Credit to the President Trump for his leadership on that issue. In his second term, and again, I'm a citizen. I'm not currently at post or in the State Department, but if confirmed, one of the things in my briefings that I really perked up at and thought was this a huge opportunity is the terrific team at State, at I.O. that's working on these issues.
I would agree it's been a sustained success across several administrations to keep advancing Americans for positions of leadership. One sitting to your right is nominated to lead an important food-related agency. The previous head, a Chinese national, was an alarming example of what happens to a critical UN agency when we don't have either American or American-aligned leadership. Last question for you, and then I have one question, if I might, for Ms. Guilfoyle. I believe investing in peacekeeping is a core part of the UN mission. I agree with you. We should have zero tolerance for abuse. I worked with Chairman Corker now many years ago on investigations and transparency around peacekeeping. How will we sustain our peacekeeping engagement when the President's proposed budget zeroes out all U.S. contributions to peacekeeping, and the rescission that will be on the floor next week would claw back $360 million? How do we balance that? How do we sustain an effective voice in peacekeeping while there's proposals to withdraw all support?
Senator, thank you for the question. As a citizen, I've not currently read into any of the issues relating to the reorganization or how that's approaching. I can say generally, though, if confirmed, I look forward to immediately getting stuck into those issues, to learn about those issues, and to working with this committee. I think on the broader point about peacekeeping operations and the successful ones versus the unsuccessful ones, having clear objectives and a clear exit strategy is an outstanding roadmap for any of these endeavors.
Broadly, we're in agreement on that point. I look forward to continuing our conversation.
Thank you, Senator.
Ms. Guilfoyle, if I might, just because the U.S.-Greece relationship is important to me, to my state, to our nation. Under the first Trump administration, there was a so-called 3+1 cooperation launched between the United States, Greece, Cyprus, and Israel. Give me your sense of what difference that's made, what's its current status, and whether you would commit to sustaining this level of cooperation in this structure.
Yes, thank you for the question, Senator. I believe this is a very important area of concern as it relates to national security in Greece and Cyprus, Israel all being very strategic and powerful allies, steadfast and reliable throughout the years, and this has just increased under President Trump's last administration. We're looking forward to making sure that those partnerships remain intact and, in fact, foster and develop. I believe firmly, if confirmed, as ambassador to Greece, that I will work tirelessly to make sure that Greece's national security interests and our strategic allies in that partnership remain very strong and robust, working in concert and conjunction with the United States of America, because national security in those areas and those countries directly equates with national security for the United States of America. And I would ensure that we increase the commitment that has been consistent by the people of Greece to do the defense spending, buying U.S. military equipment, which they have been doing, and see to it that we are going to project to include up to 5% from them.
Anything for me about why the 3+1 mechanism is particularly important?
Well, geopolitically, as you know, that is a very complex region with a lot of security issues, migration issues. We saw recently what's happened. And, you know, Greece, where it occupies its place in the world, is that southeastern edge of Europe, which is pivotal in terms of its relationship, its proximity to the Middle East. So we saw then with the cooperation with our allies, making sure that American citizens that were stranded and at great risk and danger in Israel were protected and were transported with ease and efficiency despite the complex issues involving visas. Our partners, our allies in Greece were able to help effectuate that in a timely and safe fashion, bringing people through Cyprus, through Greece, and into Athens. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Senator Barrasso.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. To follow up, Ms. Guilfoyle, on what you were just talking about with the NATO and the importance of the relationship and how closely we are aligned. There's a military naval support activity, Suda Bay, vital U.S. military installation. I know there's going to be updates. I think $44 million has been committed to invest in new joint mobility processing center in that area. Can you just overall give us some things, what opportunities you see for increased cooperation with Greece as these upgrades are completed? Because you, I think, appropriately called attention to the fact that all of these countries have now committed to going up to 5%.
They have, which I think is incredibly important. I was committed to at the Alliance and at The Hague, and that is something that I know that these countries have intentionality to fulfill and to continue that commitment that they made to us. Thank you for bringing up these questions, Senator. Suda Bay, yes, as you know, is the largest U.S. military base in Greece. It is strategically and geopolitically critical to the United States. It's been a really wonderful asset for us, for our military base, especially in that area of the world. So we're going to continue to look forward to that and make sure, and if confirmed, I plan to visit all of these facilities to deepen my keen understanding of the issues, the people, the needs, so that we maintain that strength for American interests and American national security. Revithusa is also incredibly important because there are unbelievable opportunities for liquid natural gas, which could be crucial to limit the influence, undue influence in the region of Russia, of China, and make sure that we push back on that on a daily basis. There are certain things that have happened that have been very disheartening as it relates to national security in the port of Piraeus, where the Chinese were allowed to gain access and purchase that. What I'm proud to say is the Greek people have now implemented a system that somewhat mimics what we have here in the United States, CFIUS, to prevent from foreign interests and countries encroaching on sovereign nations and buying up key national security ports and interests. So that is something that I was encouraged that has happened recently in the past month or so, and I look forward to partnering with them to make sure that we can use some of our models of best practices in those ways to make sure that there isn't over-encroachment of foreign influence and interest in key ports, and work with them strategically to help understand how we're able to prevent that in the United States of America. Thank you for the question.
Well, I appreciate your comment about energy, because I think of energy as the master resource. Greece, I think, is quickly becoming a major energy hub in the Eastern Mediterranean. You talked about LNG. They've expanded their LNG terminals. I think they've earlier this year signed an agreement with Chevron and ExxonMobil to do more. So just generally, could you give us a little thoughts on American energy companies in Greece's energy sector, and how will you support and encourage this effort for more energy?
Great opportunities that I mentioned exist with Revithusa, with the LNG terminal, which is key to that regional energy strategy. Also in Alexandroupoli, the LNG terminal, that's essential for U.S. energy exports and for Balkan access. So this is, again, why I would like to just stress the importance of Greece, the seriousness of this position, the opportunity we have to grow and strengthen the alliance and the bond between the Greek Americans and the United States of America and those living, working, visiting in Greece to ensure their safety, productivity, and make sure that their needs are met. And I really look forward to working with the absolutely incredible people that are so talented in the State Department and the careers, and the people that are currently serving in the embassy, working tirelessly to ensure that American interests are represented, and to work for President Trump to effectuate his goals, his beliefs for of the United States of America.
Thank you. Mr. Bartos, the U.S. Is the United Nations' largest financial contributor. Provides more funding than all other permanent Security Council members combined. I hear about that in Wyoming a lot. People aren't really happy with this. Despite this significant investment, the UN has struggled to implement meaningful budgetary discipline to demonstrate consistent fiscal accountability. I think next week this committee is going to have a hearing with the nominee to be our U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. U.S. contribution represents about 22% of the UN's total budget. How are you going to ensure that the financial burdens at the UN are shared more equitably and in accordance with current economic realities? And are you committed to limiting the growth of UN regular budget and ensuring that the UN makes more efficient use of its existing resources?
Senator, thank you for the question. As you stated, the United States, the generosity of the American people knows almost no bounds. We have been the most generous supporter of the United Nations system since it was founded 80 years ago, and we are the most generous nation on earth, and proudly so. But our fellow citizens, all Americans, deserve to know that every dollar that they send, every hard-earned dollar that an American taxpayer sends to the UN must not, cannot go to a dollar, a penny cannot go to waste, fraud, and abuse, and every dollar must go to support programs and policies that make our nation safer, stronger, and more prosperous. If confirmed, I will devote all of my energies. We're 22% of the regular budget, as you say, sir. We're 25% of the peacekeeping budget, limited by statute. The UN seeks to assess us at 26.1%. And so it's incumbent upon my role, if confirmed, on the Fifth Committee on Budget and Oversight to root out all of this waste and to make, and really, and I said this before, with President Trump's leadership, with the Secretary's leadership, and their charge to us, if confirmed, our team will have that presidential leadership to go there and make sure that those reforms are implemented. Our dollars carry a lot of weight, but over the last 80 years, they haven't, as you say, they actually haven't really been put to the best use by the system to the United States' interest. We need to do better. We must do better, and I commit to you, sir, if confirmed, we will do better.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Booker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am really excited about the U.S.-Greece relationship and the promise and the possibilities. I've been grateful, Ms. Guilfoyle, of what you've already discussed. Can we dive a little bit more deeply into some of the strategic importance of the work that we're doing and that we can build upon, I think, in the coming months with your leadership? Thank you. If you could put your microphone on, I appreciate that. So you mentioned the base in Alexandroupolis. Also, I want to mention the base at Suda Bay and how important they are to the U.S.-Greece Mutual Defense Cooperation Agreement. And I'm wondering if the administration is planning to any upgrades to those existing bases, given their pivotal strategic importance in that region, as you already discussed. And you share the perspective that maintaining and increasing the capacity at Alexandroupolis is important.
Yes, Senator, thank you for the question. It's nice to see you. I believe this is such an important relationship. The administration believes it as well. This is a post where we are dealing with EU, G20, a lot of complex issues geopolitically in that area. And I think it is incredibly important. Again, I am speaking now in the role of a private citizen. I would work in conjunction with the State Department, Senator Rubio, the deputy secretaries, and also following in the mission of American interests moving forward to make sure that we are ready in that area, that relationship and partnership is maintained, that if there are necessary improvements or expenditures that need to be made, that I would advocate in that fashion very strenuously on behalf of the United States of America and the American people.
I am grateful for that. That's the kind of strength I want. The tradition in the ambassador to Greece we had with George Souness, who's probably the best bipartisan ambassador, and I'm sure you know.
My dear friend who is here today.
Yes, yes. I didn't want to call him out. He does not like attention. He's very shy.
He's Greek. I mean,
yeah.
Fake news.
Yes. Feristo, thank you. Let's continue. I have a lot of concerns about the Greek-Turkey tensions, and it's something I think all of us should be giving more attention to. When I visited Greece last year and had the pleasure of being with the ambassador for some time, there was really calm between Greece and Turkey, between Athens and Ankara. The Prime Minister of Greece and the President of Turkey met last year twice to try to reduce those tensions, but I am concerned that with regard to sovereignty challenges, maritime borders, those tensions exist and could be real points that get inflamed. Tell me about your concern, and I've heard from a lot of my constituents in the Greek diaspora as well as from my travels that it's critical, I believe, that the U.S. doesn't tolerate any threats to the sovereignty of our European allies, especially Greece.
Senator, again, thank you for the question. Yes, this is a very important issue, and I know there is a lot of concern from Greece, from Israel, from Cyprus, et cetera, regarding any increasing of weaponization in Turkey with the F-35s. Again, I'm speaking as a private citizen. I do not direct or maintain policy, but I know this is an area of concern to the administration as well. I know that President Trump is the best negotiator and diplomat to be able to engage with different countries to find meaningful ways to work together. I would like to make sure that we are protecting and honoring our strategic, consistent, stable, and reliable allies with Greece. They have answered the call every time. They have exceeded our expectations. They have readily committed to the 3%, consistent in that regard, and Greece remains strong and proud as the 5th largest spender for military equipment
I'm going to interrupt you
in
there
the world.
I'm running out of time, but I want to say I thank you. I associate myself with a lot of that bravado when it comes to Greece, so thank you very much. I just want to say I've got some bipartisan work on really the importance of the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor. It's really vital. I hope to be able to talk to you about that. I know you know the importance of that and how the 3+1 framework between Israel,
Yes.
Greece, and Cyprus work into that. But I want to shift in my remaining seconds really to talk to Ms. Blanchard. I'm really concerned about food security, and things are getting exponentially worse on our planet. It's estimated right now, unfortunately, the Trump administration's foreign assistance cuts have already resulted in over 63,000 children dying unnecessarily from hunger. This is heartbreaking. It's a violation of the decency and values of our country. The Rome-based UN Food and Agriculture Organization, the WFP, the FAO, the IFAD, these are critical tools to strengthen the resilience of vulnerable communities who are at risk of hunger. Hunger leads not to horrible death and that is deplorable, but it leads to instability that ultimately could affect our security. So if confirmed, how will you seek to advance the programs that address long-term food security challenges? How do you propose to do that if the U.S. is actually reducing its funding and commitment? And as you know, other nations watch us. When we reduce, they reduce. When we challenge them to do more, as I've done in a bipartisan way here in past years, they do more. And so what impact ultimately do you think the reduction in U.S. funding will have on food insecure countries and communities worldwide?
Senator, thank you for the question. As we all know, food security is bipartisan. We all are in agreement of that. But I do believe we're all in agreement as well of our accountability for our checkbooks. I mean, I account for things that go in and out of my checkbook at home. And I think it's wonderful to reevaluate, and I look forward to the reevaluation process. I personally, and I would never want to put words in the president's mouth, but the fact that he has nominated someone for this position is encouraging to me. I've worked for the last 20 years in helping orphans and the most vulnerable abroad in 12 different countries. I'm a believer in it. I realize it's national security, but I do also realize that there's been instances where malaligned players have gotten a hold of food and used it against us or our allies. So I certainly look forward to meeting with you and this whole committee
So
in the future.
I'm out of time. I want to be respectful. I just want to say this. When I was on the Chad-Sudan border, and I've never had a situation, I've visited refugee camps all around this world, where pleading Americans were begging me to up food assistance and were being very clear with me as I looked at malnourished babies of what would happen if we didn't increase food assistance. Well, we have done worse. We've limited funding, and I've now heard directly about the children that have died there. There is a moral urgency that I know reflects deeply within your faith tradition and my faith tradition. I beg of you publicly, when it comes to crises like we're seeing in Sudan, to please be a call of conscience to this administration, should you be confirmed, to please demand in private that we step up to American tradition and the moral urgency that has been supported in a bipartisan way. We are watching children die at rates that should stun the conscience of Americans, and I'm hoping that you can help us to address that crisis. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Risch.
Thank you. Ms. Guilfoyle, I want to drill down a little bit more into the issues between Greece and Turkey.
Certainly.
You know, they're both NATO allies, and I have to tell you, I've started to use that word pretty advisedly when it comes to Turkey. I fought with them. I led the charge to get Sweden and Finland into NATO, and it was incredibly frustrating. Turkey was using its power because everything has to be done unanimously in NATO to keep them out, and it was a huge fight. And the other thing, as far as Turkey's concerned, I'm the one that put the hold on the F-35s. The F-35s they bought and paid for are still sitting in the United States because I've got a hold on them, and I'm going to continue to have that hold for a lot of different reasons. But the relationship between Greece and Turkey doesn't get nearly the play in the media here that actually exists. I wind up dealing with it all the time because I'm chairman of the committee. One of the things I'm particularly interested in is the argument they're having and the fight they've been having for a long time over a territorial dispute. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And the other thing I'd like to hear your thoughts on, and I would recommend to you, is your predecessor, George Souness, who's here. He and our ambassador to Turkey had a very, very close relationship. And I talked to them frequently, and they were really good at sorting out the issues between the two of them. So I would urge that you make that same kind of connection with our ambassador to Turkey. But your thoughts on that relationship and some of the things we might be able to do. The Greeks have been legitimately calling out for our help for a long time on a lot of these, and they're very difficult issues, obviously, between two allies. But your thoughts, please.
Thank you, Chairman, for that thoughtful question. It's one thing I think that's going to be a main and primary focus, in addition to some other issues, if I am confirmed to be ambassador to Greece. I do enjoy a very close relationship with Ambassador Barrick in Turkey. I know him for a very long time, and I have a very close relationship with Ambassador George Souness. So I think this will be pivotal to making sure that we are ready and able to exceed expectations on day one. I look forward to working with Ambassador Barrick on this tough issue, in addition to following the direction of the President of the United States. Sir, as you mentioned earlier, Turkey is precluded by U.S. law that you put forward from actually acquiring the F-35s. There are choices that people and countries make in life, and Turkey has chosen to work with the Russians with the S-400s. I think it is imperative that we focus and point out the juxtaposition of a strong, steady ally who has answered the call and exceeded the expectations like Greece, and someone who, yes, is in NATO, but also needs to follow suit and be that same kind of strong and strategic ally. We don't have that at this point in time, and again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a private citizen. I look forward to getting more information, to getting deeper into the issues, following the direction of the President of the United States, and also working with my esteemed Ambassador Tom Barrick to resolve some of these issues. But again, the big focus has to be, what are we going to do in that area? It is so imperative for national security and for the United States of America, and that we also protect those strong allies that we have in Cyprus, in Israel, and in Greece. And I will make sure that it is my mission objective and focus to do just that, if confirmed.
Well, thank you. I think you and Tom are going to be a real team there, I really think, and I appreciate that. The issues that Turkey has are not irresolvable they are resolvable if cooler heads would prevail. But with Erdogan, we just, it seems like it's going backwards every year rather than forward. So I hope you're able to turn that around. And your comments about the Greek community here in the United States couldn't be more right on. What a great community of people supporting Americana and Americana issues.
Chairman, if I may, just to say that that has been very evident and it's been consistent for so many years, and they care deeply about this country. We have 3 million Greek Americans living in the United States of America in the diaspora, and 10 million incredible patriots that live in Greece that they want to work very strongly to help and support the United States, and their intentions are clear. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. I'm out of time, but I just want to say, Mr. Bardos, the title of your job having to do with UN management and reform, that's an oxymoron if I've ever heard one. And I got a lot of issues there. Secretary Guterres comes to see me every once in a while. The first thing I do is drag out the charter and say, what are you doing about this? Because, man, it just isn't working. And we're pumping a tremendous amount of money into it. There's a lot of us not very happy about that. I wish you well. We'll work with you every way that we can. And my time's up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Senator Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations to all of you on your nominations. I know Senator Booker covered some of the topics I wanted to, but I'm going to dig a little more deeply into those. So, Ms. Guilfoyle, congratulations on your nomination. As you know, Greece is a critical American ally. The U.S.-Greece relationship has grown to probably one of the most strongest and enduring relationships based on common values, based on defense cooperation, based on strong people-to-people ties, energy collaboration, and the important role they have played also with respect to fighting back against Putin's war of aggression against Ukraine. And that last point indicates that, you know, Greece also plays an important regional role. So your responsibilities as ambassador, of course, are to deepen the bilateral relationship or to support that, but also take a look at the broader picture. And recently, Turkey submitted a maritime spatial plan to UNESCO that reflects maritime claims that have been disputed by Greece. Are you aware of that plan that was submitted?
Senator, thank you for the question. I'm aware of the plan. I am not deeply familiar with the plan because I have not been confirmed, and if confirmed, that is one of the areas that I want to work with the senators and congressmen and the talented people at the State Department, the Secretary Rubio, to make sure that we have a strong command of that situation as well. And with Ambassador Barrick.
I appreciate that. So I guess one question would be the approach that you take, because a lot of the actions Turkey has taken, both with respect to intrusion into Greek airspace, into Greece's waters, obviously create possibilities of conflict, which we'd hope to avoid. Do you agree that as we approach these kind of issues, that we should do it based on the international law? In other words, the international rules of the road with respect to maritime rights?
Thank you for the question. As a former prosecutor, I've been an attorney for, 30-plus years. I have the utmost respect for the rule of law. I believe it should be adhered to. And then there is the additional aspects to consider of what is the State Department policy, what is the position of the President of the United States as it relates to American interests. Will it make us stronger, safer, more prosperous? All of those need to be applied to these complex matrices to make sure that we know that we are acting in the best interests of the United States. And because Greece is so important and pivotal geopolitically, it is a key place in the region that must be respected. And I am a strong believer that we are sending a message to the rest of the world if we do not treat our most strongest and strategic and consistent and steadfast allies like Greece in an appropriate manner to honor and respect the commitment that they have made to the United States of America, and as you mentioned, with our shared values. Yeah. This is of pivotal importance. And I do believe, again, speaking privately and not as a confirmed ambassador, if confirmed, I would work very hard to make sure that we are really keeping that distinction about who has been acting in the best interests of the United States of America in accordance with the President's viewpoints, in accordance with our national and security interests and foreign policy interests. And I think there's a strong juxtaposition between allies who have and haven't.
I appreciate that. I just want to underscore the fact that Greece sees it in its interests to apply international law, international maritime law. And I would hope that the U.S. position is that we also respect maritime law and not support or look the other way when that's being violated. But your answer, of course, opened the door to looking the other way and, depending on other factors. So let me I need to turn to Ambassador Blanchard, and I know Senator Booker covered some of this. As you know, the President's budget, envisions very deep cuts to the UN generally, including deep cuts to the UN humanitarian and food programs. Among the UN entities that you'll be responsible for, working with is the World Food Program, which, as you know, is headed by an American who I believe is doing a very good job, Cindy McCain. But the World Food Program is currently facing a 40% overall funding cut. The projections are that as many as 58 million people will be put at greater risk of starvation. There have been cuts by the administration to the PL 480 program. There was just a report the other day about Kansas farmers who used to support the PL 488 program, now looking to essentially use their products for dog food when they prefer to be part of the World Food Program and PL 480. So my question to you is pretty simple. Within this administration, will you be an advocate for increasing U.S. support for the World Food Program?
Sir, Senator, thank you for the question. I look forward to working with your team once confirmed, but I will say after the reevaluation, I'm sure that that the President has the three focuses in mind. Does it make us more prosperous, safer, and stronger as Americans? And I look forward to working in those areas once the reevaluation is done. I do know that this is just as a private citizen, that 85% of the funding that we've given to World Food Program is still in use, and I applaud that. I also applaud that Ms. McCain's focus is on public-private partnerships at the moment, and I've heard that's been doing well. I see that as a wonderful addition to World Food Program and look forward to partnering with her as leader of the program, and certainly after the reevaluation would really want to immediately get engaged with this committee on where we need to focus as a team, because it is critical. Food security is national security, and we all love our farmers and we want the best for our farmers, and that's where they make a lot of money.
All right, I look forward to working with you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Van Hollen. And thank you all very much for your time today. I appreciate it. Again, this is an impressive hearing, shows why President Trump's nominees have been put forward for these roles. For the information of the members of the committee, the record will remain open until close of business tomorrow, Thursday, July 10th, for members to submit questions for the record. This hearing is adjourned.